Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome back to the Operation Hill 100 Hearts channel where we do what? Focus on healing, humor, and hot mother freaking topics. Um, if I sound a little crazy, guys, it's because I feel a little crazy. I don't know. A little under the weather. This has been since last week. I'm trying to shake it. I don't know what it is. I've had tea this morning. Anywho, let's get into this Dear Deja letter. Dear Deja, I have been with my husband for 2 decades. 5 years ago, we went into business together on a trucking business. This business has been very lucrative for us, which we greatly appreciative of. Of course, because we're still a relatively new business, we do most of the work. I'm the dispatcher and I handle all of the human resources responsibilities. My husband is the driver and handles all of the vendors and contracts. This change in income really pushed our relationship in a better and more stable direction. My husband has a pretty regular route and I'm in communication with him as he travels, but he has this one city that when he goes there, there's a lot of his behaviors change, which makes me suspicious. My man and I are best friends, so we talk often about whenever he's in a particular city, he's either my man and I are best friends, so we talk often. But whenever he's in a particular city, he's either too busy during the day to talk or too sleepy at night to talk. Normally, because I handle the paperwork and payment regarding the contracts, I'll have a rapport with the vendors, and sometimes he will as well. The vendor in that city is the only contract we have that he told me not to worry about. He'll take care of it. I know my husband. As I said, we've been together for 2 decades, and I definitely know when something's not right. Well, my suspicions got the best of me, and I hacked into his iCloud account. I wish I would have never done that. Pictures, videos, text messages, etc. of my husband and another man being intimate. This man is from the same city that my man has a contract in where his behaviors change. This man is the contractor. Him and my husband kissing, spooning, effing, and it was just too much. I couldn't wait for my husband to get home. I was too enraged. I called this man screaming at the top of my lungs. I started sending off all the pics and videos I had retrieved from his iCloud and calling him names, cursing, etc. He kept telling me we would talk about it when he got home. He was driving, but I was too enraged and I continued to let it spill all out. While trying to calm me down, my husband dropped his phone. It went under the brake in the truck. He tried pulling an emergency brake. That didn't work and he ended up crashing. This accident paralyzed my husband. It has been a month since the accident and he's still in the hospital. The doctors are trying everything to see if he'll regain the use of his legs. I'm there. His family's there. This is so traumatizing, which is why I need you to help me tell him I want a divorce. I know he's paralyzed. I know this is a messed up situation, and I know he doesn't want to hear this right now, but what he did was the ultimate betrayal, and I don't feel I have to stick around with him through this. He's not the man I've known for the last 20 years, and that's too much for me to bear. Help me lay this out the right way. Please help and don't try to convince me otherwise. Hope to hear from you soon. Peace. A wife who wants a new life. Whoa, 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 whoa. Wow. Of course, let me start off by saying I send my prayers. I send my prayers because this is a heavy situation. This is a very, very heavy situation. So I send my prayers. I send my prayers. I pray that your husband is able to make a full recovery mentally and physically, and I pray that through it all, everybody, including you, will be okay, right? Okay, so in the end of your letter, you said, don't try to convince you otherwise. So that means that you're dead set on divorcing your husband, right? I don't want to convince you otherwise if you have made a decision about your life that makes you happy. Let me start there. But I just want to make sure that this decision makes you happy. Because a lot of times what we do as people is we have a rush of emotions, right? We have a rush of emotions. Sometimes they're very happy emotions. Sometimes they're very sad emotions. Sometimes it's trauma. But we have this rush in emotion, and what happens is we respond immediately as soon as we have that feeling. And I can't lie, I'm guilty of it. I'm guilty of it. It's something that I'm working on to this day, trying not to in the moment act off of that emotion, right? And I don't even mean just a sad or a traumatized one, even a happy one. Sometimes I make hasty decisions because I'm feeling good. And then when that time is up, I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, I did it with good intention, but it still wasn't the best decision. But I was just feeling so good at the moment that I just said, F it. Yeah, but now you're paying for it. Right? So do I want to tell you to choose otherwise? No, I want to tell you to choose happy. Right? I want you to choose happily. I do not want to be a part of helping you make a decision where in the end you're not happy, right? So let's go back. You said that this accident happened. You said that your husband has been in the hospital for a month. So that means the accident happened a month ago, which means you found out this information a month ago. Now, do I think that you're saying that you want a divorce because all your feelings for your husband left last month and you need to leave him? No. I think you're very much aware that you still have feelings and you still love your husband. But I do know that you also have feelings of anger and betrayal, and those feelings are overriding at this moment the feelings that you have for your husband, which is why you're making that decision, right? Once again, I don't deny that it's the best decision for you. I just want to be sure that you 100% feel that way, right? And let me also say something about what I'm saying too, because I also know that sometimes we make decisions not knowing if in the end we're going to be happy. We're just taking a chance. I'm all for people taking chances, right? I'm all for it, right? It's just that this is a huge decision to make, right? So I want to make sure that even if you don't know what's going to happen in the end, you at least are confident that to some degree you will be happy. Okay? So let's take it from the top. You said you known your husband for 2 decades, 20 years. 20 years is a long time to build a relationship. So I'm assuming you guys have built a friendship, a romantic relationship, and all of that combined. At this point, you guys are family, from what I could assume, right? So because of that and a 20-year history you guys have behind you, right? I would be asking, do you feel like you would be open to having some dialogue before you proceed to divorce, right? Meaning, would you be open to having a conversation with him about what took place? Because again, you don't know what happened, right? You just know you've seen pictures and videos. And I mean, that's enough to conclude your own story. I'm pretty sure of it. I do it all the time. Wink, wink, Pookie. But in any event, you still want to, would you still like to know what happened? Because a lot of times the breakdown in relationships don't get discussed. They don't get discussed. And when you don't have a conversation about what is going on, sometimes you can't either A, solve the problem, or B, make a split from the relationship amicably, right? So a lot of times in romantic relationships, when one person finds out the other person did something and it's too much for them to bear, they just dead it, right? But sometimes you actually need to have the conversation to have the closure to know if A, this is the right decision to make, and B, what transpired in order for us to get here. Because I'm going to be honest with you, that's a main key factor outside of what happened. How did we get here? What caused this, right? And sometimes people will share with you, the backstory that will have you understand, like, okay. Like, I remember I was watching Being Mary Jane, right? And on Being Mary Jane, initially when it started, I forgot. Me and Pookie just rewatched it, like, these last couple of weeks. And I forgot that Ghost from Power was on Mary Jane. I forgot all about he was on this. So anyway, that was how the show opened up the first season, with her trying to date him, but he was married. Right? And then she found out he was married, and then all this drama surrounding that situation. Anyway, the reason why Ghost said that he was attracted to Mary Jane is because Mary Jane seen him as the man he saw himself as, right? Whereas he felt like the wife couldn't see that man. She just basically treated him like a charity case, and like she always had to help him and do for him, and like he would never be the man that he is now without her. So because of that, he felt invisible to her. And the reason why he was attracted to Mary Jane was because he felt that she could really see him. right? So it wasn't necessarily that Mary Jane was so beautiful or that her sex was so amazing. It was more so that feeling of him needing to be seen and her being able to provide that caused him to have the affair, right? So that's kind of what I mean when I say about having a dialogue with your husband. It's like, I'm not saying that anything will change about your feelings, and I'm also not saying that he's right about what he did. I'm just asking, would you be open to hearing? And again, not intricate details, right? Because you've seen the physical piece on the phone. So you don't need to hear, or what was the first night you inserted this into that. No, 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 no. You probably don't want to hear all of that. But I would like to hear, what is the issue? What happened between you and I that you would ruin our love by having an affair? And one of the things could be you were always a bisexual man from the beginning. Maybe that's the case, right? So that's something different. You know, it's not, people don't wake up and say, hey, I choose to be attracted to A and B. You just are attracted to what you're attracted to. And if he was always a bisexual man and you weren't aware of that, well, then that opens up the floor for a different conversation, because he's not at fault for loving or liking what he does. The only issue is that he didn't share that with you, right? And that would be a deeper conversation that y'all would be able to have if that's the case. But we won't know what the case is if the door is not open to have any conversation, right? So I'm just wondering, you know, are you open to dialogue? Right? Because another piece about it is too, let's just say, let's use the example I gave, which is, let's just say he is a bisexual man. Is that a man that you want to be with for the rest of your life? Because that also creates a different starting ground for you as well. You can say, well, okay, I'm pissed off that you cheated and you didn't tell me your truth. But now that I know your truth, that's not something that I want to deal with. So now we do need to separate. And then you'll have a better headspace, I'm assuming, about removing yourself from the relationship, as opposed to being angry and upset and so on and so forth. Right? Excuse me. Sorry, y'all. I don't know. Not feeling 100. Anyway, that's rude. I ain't right. Anyway, let's also talk about the timing in which you want this to happen, because that's pretty much the part where I feel like, now, I get that a month ago, you just found out some devastating news, right? I get that you're hurt, you're disappointed, and you feel betrayed. My only concern is that on top of your romantic relationship, from the way you described your relationship, that's your friend. He's your friend, right? And right now, in these moments, your friend needs you. Am I saying that you have to be there for your friend? No. I'm saying that, are you okay not being there? Right? Because what you said at the end of your letter is that I don't feel like I have to or I should stick through this with him. That is a human feeling to have, and it's yours, no matter what nobody else feels. I just want to make sure that it's a genuine feeling. Because a lot of times we as people do that. You know, in the moment, you're angry, you're upset, you're pissed. So here we are doing what I said in the beginning, going off that emotion, right? I'm not seeing this through with you. You betrayed me, now let me betray you, right? And turn my back on you at one of your worst moments. If that's your feeling, then you're approaching it in the wrong way. If you're saying that I just don't want to stick it out with him anymore because that's not something I feel comfortable doing or that I want to do, then that's different. That is totally different. You have every right to say and feel that, right? But if you're only approaching it from that standpoint because you want to pay him back for what he did to you, in the end, you're going to regret it. And when that regret comes down on you like a ton of bricks, you're really, really going to see that you made a poor decision. And you don't want a situation that occurred because of someone else to weigh so heavily on you. Right? Which is why you have to do what you feel from your heart, as opposed to being reactive to what this other person did. right? So let me see. I always like to tie these letters into, my real life in some way so I can kind of string pieces together to show you what it looks like in another actual situation, right? It kind of reminds me of what I talked about the other day on one of my live videos where I talked about, it's times that I've been apologetic towards a person, and even though I feel like they've also wronged me, they weren't apologetic, and I was okay with that. You know why? Because my apology was my genuine feeling. And that's how I also feel when I'm not in an apologetic state, or I'm not in a connection, a state where I want to connect, right? So like case in point, say if you have an ex, right, and you and the ex go through something, and okay, I'll do you one better. I have an ex that one time was physically abusive with me, right? He choked me, right? So when he did that, we separated because that's what I needed to do, disconnect, right? And about 2 years later, he tried to come back and talk to me about it, and I still was not ready to have any dialogue about it. And then about 4 years later, we finally had the opportunity to have some dialogue about it, right? And at that point, I wasn't angry anymore, right? And what the dialogue for me was that I get what state of mind you were in. I get how I could have triggered that. I get all of that, right? And because I'm not upset with you, I can be cordial. But if you're asking me to connect with you again, I cannot do that. And that's my genuine feeling. I don't care what he says. I don't care what he does, right? My genuine feeling is that I'm disconnected from him. Not because I'm angry with him. Not because I still blame him for what happened that day. Not because of anything that has to do with him. This is about me and what I feel. And what I feel was disrespected. And because that is the case, I have to disconnect from you. Right? And that's a genuine feeling. That man may not ever put his hands on another woman again in his lifetime. He may really be a genuinely changed man. I don't deny that or doubt it. But I would never know personally because I'm not connected to him. And that's my genuine feeling and my choice and my decision. Right? So I want, if you are going to say, listen, I'm going to leave this man here paralyzed and allow him to figure it out on his own, then you have to be able to stand up a year from now, a day from now, a decade from now, and say, I made the best decision for me. Not at that time I made a choice and then I suffered from it years and days and months and weeks later. And I only made that choice because I had an emotional reaction to something that was done to me. And now, so for me, it's not about me telling you to change your mind. It's about me asking you to open up your mind to the decisions that you're making, and if they're going to be the best choice for you moving forward. Because what I wouldn't like to see is you back in the healing heart session broken down because either something took a turn for the worse with that gentleman and you didn't have the time to connect with him because you had an emotional reaction, or that things got much, much better for him and he's out living his best life and now you're miserable because he don't want you because you had an emotional reaction to what took place. I don't want you to have any regrets. Okay? So that's the reason why I'm asking you to open up your mind to thinking about, is this what I really, really want to do? Because what I think will happen is, after you make this decision, you don't know if there's going to be an option to turn back. And if there is no option for you to turn back and the door is closed, will you be able to live with that? The reason why I started Operation Heal 100 Hearts is because, we all have trauma, right? And what I learned is that we're not taught early on to recognize our trauma, to be expressive about our trauma, and then to work through our trauma. And the reason why we're not taught that is because most times our parents weren't taught it, our grandparents weren't taught it. It was just like, okay, so you can show up looking good, acting good, and presenting well, then you're your best. Go out and do the job. And it's like, I'm not really my best. I just look okay, but I don't feel okay, right? So once again, if you're not taught to address your trauma, express your trauma, or work through your trauma, then you go through life traumatized. What I always share with people is that no matter how much you dress it up, no matter how much you try to hide it, That trauma shows up in every single thing that you do. Every single thing that you do. And folks believe that, no, it doesn't. I'm fine. Yes, it does. Yes, it absolutely does. And most times, because the trauma is not a good thing, it hurts other people. It makes for bad situations. It makes for regrets, which I'm trying to help you make sure you don't have to live with after you make these decisions. So, my dear, am I interested in telling you or advising you or assisting you in not getting a divorce? No. I'm much more interested in you being open to having critical conversation about these choices and these decisions and if they're going to benefit you in the long run. Right? So first things first is this is your husband and your friend of the last 20 years who did something to you that you are very, very unhappy about. Is that 20 years now null and void because of what was done to you? And I want you to be honest with yourself, even if not with me. Because I know a lot of times people hear a statement like that and it kind of makes them feel bad. So they say what they think you want to hear. Like, no, 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 I don't want to throw away 20 years just over one thing. But maybe you do. Maybe you do. If you do, I just need you to be genuine with you and own that, right? So if I ask you, were you willing to throw away the 2 decades for what took place with your husband? You have to be honest about what you feel. Yes, I am, or no, I'm not. And then once you share that with me, then we can work from that space. So if the answer is yes, I'm willing to put all that in the trash and start anew. Okay, so let's talk about the dialogue, when, where, how, and let's move forward from there. But if the answer is no, then once again, we need to re-examine if you are making this decision hastily and if it's the best decision for you. And if the answer is no, I can almost guarantee you that it's not. Okay. All right, my dear. All right. Where there's an end, there's always opportunity for a new beginning, right? I know me personally, I am a person that I feel like God makes every single, you know what? I'll give you an example. I never forget. About 2 or 3 years after Biggie died, Little Kim said in an article, I think in like the Source magazine or something like that, she said, I feel like God took him away from me because he knew how much I depended and relied on him, and I needed to come up off that crutch, right? And I remember looking at that, saying to myself, Little Kim, you think God killed Biggie for you? Like, it was a crazy thing. But in the grand scheme of it all, as I got older, I felt what she meant, right? Everything is a lesson. Everything. And most times God have to teach us really, 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 really hard because we don't just get it like that, right? You have some people that will tell you, oh, something happened to so-and-so, and when I seen it happen to them, I knew. Who the fuck is that? I knew that I couldn't let it happen to me, so I learned from their experience. God bless those people. May God continue to bless and keep them safe. I'm not always one of those people. I can be at times, but I'm not always one of those people. I'm one of those people that God got to whack me over the head, punch me in the back, stab me in the stomach, and break both my legs for me to see, baby, this ain't it. Right? So even though, this took place between you and your husband and in your marriage, it may be an opportunity for something to grow in this situation, and that something or someone can be you. You just get to choose what that looks like. Okay? And Operation Heal 100 Hearts wants to be here to help you make that choice, my dear. So, in any event, I'm praying for you, mommy. I'm praying for you because this September, Pookie and I will celebrate 8 years together. And for me, that feels like a long time and a lifetime. And I love him so much. I couldn't imagine life without him. So I can't imagine being in a relationship for 2 decades and now possibly losing your best friend and your lover. So I'm going to pray for you. I'm definitely going to pray for you. I pray also that you come in for your healing heart sessions, because I do want to help you get to that next phase in your life where you're happy again, you know, and that's with or without your husband. I'm going to pray for your husband, you know, his mental and his physical health, because you just never know what can happen in the future. In any event, ladies and gentlemen, please go like this video. Please go like this video, because it will have views but not have likes. Please go like this video. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Please hit the subscribe button. Drop down in the comment section. Let me hear what you think. Let me hear what you think about my feedback. Let me hear what you think about the letter. You know, I really, really appreciate you guys for tuning in. I love, 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 love you, and I'll speak to you soon.